Unlike a lot of rebooted properties that seem insistent on deconstructing their own legacies to pander to modern audiences, The Matrix Resurrections is a true sequel that respects its legacy, prominently features that legacy in its storytelling, and builds off of what came before as it launches in a new direction. Should you see it? If you're a fan of the original Matrix trilogy, keyword trilogy, definitely see Resurrections now. If you liked the first Matrix but didn't care much for the trilogy as a whole, you can wait until Resurrections comes to your streaming service of choice, though it is streaming free on HBO Max until January 21, 2022. If you've never seen any Matrix movie, go back and watch the originals right now, then you can appreciate what Resurrections is trying to do. While The Matrix might not be the number one trilogy, it's definitely one of my favorites. The good. The best part about Matrix Resurrections is the mystery and philosophizing of the first half of the film, which is basically par for the course for anyone who's seen the originals. The Matrix films have always challenged us to define what real is and whether or not choice exists. Since Neo and Trinity die in Revolutions, the viewer's immediate question is, what? Is any of this real? From a fan service perspective, it's great to see the story of the appropriately titled Resurrections moving forward from the original trilogy, close enough in time to that trilogy that references to the OG characters make sense, and several of them show up. Seeing CARRIE-ANNE Moss and Keanu back as Trinity and Neo is of course a real treat. I think we can all agree we're living in the Keanu Reeves renaissance. The ugly. Because it's appealing to 3 previous films, there's a lot of context in Resurrections. Resurrections is not user-friendly to someone who's never jacked into the Matrix. This also means that the script feels a bit unfocused at points, especially in the middle, because we're being brought up to speed on a lot of what's happened in the world since the other films. Consequently, a lot of the new characters don't feel like they get enough space to breathe. Jessica Henwick's Bugs is the Morpheus-type guide character in this movie, so having both of them subtracted from both of them. The writers should have focused on Bugs as the guide character and delayed quote-unquote Morpheus until Matrix 5. My biggest complaint about Matrix Resurrections has got to be not enough kung fu! The hand-to-hand fight sequences are tame compared to the wirework of the originals, or to that of the vastly underrated, I said again, vastly underrated, Matrix Reloaded. Much of the fight sequences in Resurrections are shot too close, so we don't have that big picture sense of the action. The originals used a lot of wide shots, so you could see the fights in all their glory, and you knew these guys had trained for weeks to pull these sequences off with the crescent kicks and the wapows and this thing! So my biggest disappointment with the film was that it's probably got the weakest kung fu fight sequences of any Matrix film. And I'm including Rubber Neo. Finally, The Matrix Resurrections is a thoughtful fourth entry in a long-standing property that doesn't crap all over its own legacy to score brownie points with modern audiences. Fans of the original trilogy won't want to miss Resurrections, though they may be a bit disappointed in its valiant yet flawed attempt to recapture all the style of the 2000s era films. Matrix newbies definitely need to binge the originals before jacking in to Part 4.